I still remember the night the receipt arrived as if it were a tangible imprint on my memory. I had been trudging home on a rainy evening, my umbrella doing little against the soft drizzle that blurred the neon lights of the city streets. My phone buzzed unexpectedly, a chime that signaled an incoming message. Opening it, I discovered a digital receipt from a restaurant I'd never visited, a high-end establishment known only to whispered circles among those who thrived on secrets and clandestine meetings. The receipt confirmed a gourmet dinner reservation for tonight and, in the details that followed, mentioned a secret rendezvous at an upscale venue somewhere after midnight. My heart pounded in disbelief and anticipation. That night, I dressed with deliberate care, each article of clothing chosen not only to impress but also to shield me from the vulnerability that accompanied uncertainty. I felt as if I were about to cross an invisible line, stepping into a world that danced on the edge of the everyday and the extraordinary. The restaurant itself was an oasis of opulence tucked away behind an unassuming facade in a narrow lane of the city's older quarter. Inside, candles flickered gently over rich mahogany tables, and soft jazz whispered through the air. I sat in a secluded corner, savoring every bite of the meticulously crafted meal, a fusion of flavors that ignited memories of long-forgotten dreams. As I finished my dessert, a delicate confection that tasted of bittersweet nostalgia, a discreet note was slipped onto my napkin. It reiterated the invitation, "Meet me after midnight at the Blue Dusk Lounge." The words were scrawled in a hurried yet elegant hand, almost as if the writer feared that time was running out. I spent the next hour oscillating between wonder and trepidation, my mind racing through every possible scenario. Was this a setup? A romantic overture? Or perhaps the initiation into a secret society that operated under the cloak of darkness? When midnight finally struck, I left the restaurant, the cool night air washing over me like a baptism into a new reality. I arrived at the Blue Dusk Lounge, a posh venue nestled at the end of a cobblestone street. Its tall glass doors beckoned me, and as I stepped inside, I was greeted by an ambience of understated luxury, velvet drapes, soft lighting, and an intoxicating mixture of whispered conversations and distant clinks of crystal glasses. I scanned the room, each face a potential clue, until I found her. She was seated at a corner table, her eyes hidden behind delicate sunglasses even in the dim light. In that moment, time seemed to slow as I recalled the receipt's subtle promise of fate. I hesitated only for a second before approaching her. "I'm here," I said, my voice wavering between caution and excitement. She smiled, a slow, enigmatic curve that conveyed secrets I was eager to learn. Over the next few hours, we spoke about art, memories, and the unspoken bond that forms when strangers trust each other with their vulnerabilities. I learned that her name was Elise, a woman with a past as intricate and layered as the city itself. With each shared word, the night deepened around us, and the digital receipt, the trigger of this surreal adventure, became a symbol of both mystery and possibility. After hours that felt like an eternity, the conversation drifted to dreams unfulfilled and desires unspoken. Elise confided that the receipt was no accident. It was part of a larger plan to break free from a life that had become a monotonous echo of corporate deadlines and lifeless routines. In that moment, as we left the lounge and walked side by side through rain-slicked streets, I realized that sometimes a single unexpected message can ignite a transformation. The receipt had not just confirmed a dinner, it had confirmed that life, in all its unpredictability, was calling me to step into the unknown. I found myself laughing and crying simultaneously, embracing the bittersweet symphony of destiny as the city lights melted into the mist of a new beginning. I remember the day the digital receipt pinged on my phone like a coded message meant only for me. I was in the midst of my routine, a bland day filled with endless meetings and spreadsheets, when that unexpected alert cut through the monotony. The message detailed a reservation at an exclusive restaurant, and in a cryptic twist, it confirmed a secret meeting later that night at a posh venue renowned for its discretion. The surreal nature of the message left me both bemused and curious. I'd always prided myself on being rational, yet the allure of mystery nudged me toward a decision I'd never have anticipated. That evening, I made a deliberate choice to diverge from my regimented path. I dressed in a tailored suit that had seen more corporate boardrooms than any clandestine escapade, but tonight, it felt like armor for the unknown. The restaurant was situated on a quiet, tree-lined street, its exterior modern yet understated, a silent promise of culinary marvels hidden within. As I entered, I was immediately enveloped in an atmosphere of refined elegance. Soft ambient music played in the background, and the subtle scent of truffle oil and fresh herbs filled the air. Every dish was presented with the precision of an artist, and with each bite, I felt as though I were uncovering layers of a story crafted just for me. Midway through the sumptuous meal, a harmonious blend of flavors that awakened long-dormant senses. I noticed a small, engraved card placed discreetly beside my plate. The card bore only a few words: "Midnight at the Crescent Chamber." The stark simplicity of the message sent a shiver of anticipation down my spine. Was it a coincidence, or had someone orchestrated this secret encounter just for me? The questions mingled with the taste of dessert on my tongue, and before I knew it, the final course was served, and the restaurant's lights dimmed in preparation for closing. Outside, the night was crisp and charged with an energy I hadn't felt in years. I made my way to the Crescent Chamber, a lavish, enigmatic venue that combined the elegance of a bygone era with the thrill of modern enigma. The interior was a canvas of soft shadows and golden highlights. Chandeliers hung from the high ceilings, casting dancing reflections on marble floors. There, amid a gathering of individuals whose faces were as inscrutable as the night itself, I encountered a man whose presence exuded an unspoken authority. He introduced himself simply as Adrian, and his voice carried the weight of countless untold stories. We found ourselves drawn into a conversation that oscillated between the mundane and the mystical. He spoke of lost loves, of nights filled with bittersweet triumphs, and of a journey that had taken him far from the confines of a stifling existence. As the evening progressed, our conversation grew deeper, touching on themes of freedom and self-discovery. I found myself confessing things I had long buried beneath layers of routine and practicality. In his eyes, I saw the reflection of my own yearnings, a desire to break free from the predictable and embrace a life of passion and purpose. Adrian's words resonated with an intensity that transcended the usual banter of chance encounters. I began to see the digital receipt not merely as a confirmation of a dinner reservation but as a symbol, a beacon that illuminated the hidden corridors of my soul. In that surreal, luxurious space, time seemed to fracture into fragments of memories, regrets, and hope. As midnight deepened and the world outside slumbered, I realized that the true journey was not one of distance but of self-acceptance and courage. The encounter left an indelible mark on me, a reminder that every so often, the universe sends us a message to break the chains of our own limitations. The receipt had opened a door, and stepping through, I vowed never to return to the colorless life I once knew. I'll never forget the moment I checked my messages on what appeared to be an ordinary evening, only to find an unexpected digital receipt that disrupted the humdrum of my daily routine. The receipt, crisp and modern in its design, detailed a reservation for an exclusive gourmet dinner, a dinner that was meant to be more than just a culinary indulgence. It confirmed a secret rendezvous at an opulent venue scheduled for after midnight, and its unassuming yet enigmatic nature hinted at adventures I'd only dreamed about. I felt an electric thrill ripple through me, as if the receipt had unlocked a hidden chapter of my life that had been waiting to be written. I had never been one for theatrics, but on that night, something shifted inside me. I spent the late afternoon preparing, not with the mechanical routine of my usual evenings but with an eager anticipation that made my heart race. I chose my outfit with care, a crisp, white shirt and a dark jacket that lent me an air of quiet confidence. There was a part of me that felt as though I was stepping into an entirely new world, where every decision was laden with the promise of transformation. The dinner venue was nestled in a part of the city that retained an air of old-world charm, its exterior a blend of modern glass and intricate wrought iron detailing. Walking through its grand doors felt like crossing a threshold into a realm of whispered secrets and silent understandings. Inside, the ambience was warm and inviting, a harmonious mix of low, soulful music and the soft murmur of conversations held in hushed tones. I was led to a table by a window, where the city's skyline provided a glittering backdrop that blurred into a tapestry of lights and shadows. Every dish that arrived was a masterpiece, each plate an orchestration of flavors that seemed to dance in perfect synchrony with my emotions. Halfway through the meal, while savoring a particularly exquisite amuse-bouche, I noticed a subtle detail on my phone's screen, a reminder notification that wasn't part of the usual barrage of calendar alerts. It was a confirmation of the secret rendezvous, the details matching those on the digital receipt exactly. My pulse quickened as I considered the possibilities. This wasn't merely an elaborate dinner, it was an invitation to a deeper mystery that beckoned me to explore the recesses of desire and destiny. Leaving the restaurant, I felt as if I was straddling two worlds. On one side lay the familiar terrain of my everyday existence, and on the other, an uncharted realm full of risk and possibility. I took a cab to the designated posh venue, a sumptuous lounge known as the Midnight Parlor. The journey there was a blur of passing cityscapes and internal reflections. Every red light, every silent street corner, seemed to underscore the surreal nature of my night. Inside the Midnight Parlor, the atmosphere was intoxicating. Soft classical strains intermingled with the murmurs of voices that spoke in riddles and half-truths. I found a secluded spot near a window where the moonlight bathed everything in a silver glow. It wasn't long before I encountered him, a man whose presence was both comforting and unnerving. His name was Julian, and his eyes, dark and searching, held a mixture of sorrow and hope. As we spoke, I learned that Julian, too, had been drawn in by a similar receipt, a digital message that promised an escape from a life of quiet desperation. Our conversation was raw, unfiltered, and it touched on the profound loneliness that can exist even in a crowded world. 4 hours, we traded stories of past mistakes, unfulfilled ambitions, and fleeting moments of beauty that often go unnoticed in the rush of modern life. I found solace in his honesty and the gentle cadence of his voice. In that moment, the receipt transformed from a mere confirmation into a talisman, a symbol of liberation and the courage to confront the unknown. As the night waned and the first hints of dawn began to creep through the parlor's velvet drapes, I realized that I had not only witnessed a secret rendezvous but had also embarked on a journey of self-discovery. The digital receipt had been the spark, and the subsequent adventure, a blaze of passion that illuminated the darkest corners of my soul. I remember waking the next morning with the taste of that surreal night still lingering on my tongue. The rain had ceased, and a fragile mist had taken over the city, a tangible reminder of how ephemeral and delicate the boundaries between the known and the unknown truly are. My mind replayed every moment with Elise at the Blue Dusk Lounge, every whispered secret, every hesitant smile that carried the weight of unspoken truths. Even as I sipped my lukewarm coffee, I could still feel the warmth of her presence and the quiet intensity in her eyes. The digital receipt that had initiated it all now lay on my bedside table, as if it were a sacred relic left behind by a benefactor of fate. I couldn't help but trace its sleek edges with my fingertips, wondering if its origin was as mysterious as the encounter itself. It wasn't just a piece of paper or a digital confirmation, it was a portal to a realm where my life had, for one enchanted night, been painted in vivid hues. The mundane routines of my days, with their endless spreadsheets and predictable patterns, suddenly felt obsolete. That one night had become a turning point, a reminder that life's beauty often lay hidden in its most unexpected moments. Later that morning, while walking through the awakening city, I found myself retracing my steps to the narrow lane that led to the restaurant. The echoes of that evening, the soft clinking of glasses, the murmured exchanges in hushed tones, and the secretive glances across dimly lit tables, haunted me like a half-remembered dream. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being called back, that the encounter with Elise was not meant to be a solitary spark, but rather the beginning of a larger, unfolding narrative. Driven by this inner pull, I began to scour my memories for any hint of how Elise had arrived at my life. There were moments during our conversation when her eyes would glimmer with an intensity that suggested a history of both joy and sorrow. She spoke of fleeting romances and of nights spent wandering through labyrinthine streets in search of meaning. In those moments, it became clear that our meeting was less about chance and more about an intricate dance orchestrated by forces beyond our comprehension. I found myself scribbling notes on a small pad, desperate to capture every nuance of her words, every inflection of emotion that betrayed the hidden layers of her personality. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself revisiting the Blue Dusk Lounge under the guise of familiarity, hoping to catch a glimpse of Elise again. Yet, despite my efforts, she remained an elusive presence, a whisper on the wind. I began to question whether our meeting had been a solitary brush with destiny or the opening act of a symphony that was still playing out in the background of my life. Late one night, as I sat alone in my apartment, the soft hum of the city seeping through the windows, I received another message on my phone. It was brief, almost cryptic, a single line of text that read, "Keep watching the shadows, they hold the key." The message stirred something deep within me. I wondered if this was connected to the digital receipt, or if it was the work of someone entirely different, a kindred spirit, perhaps, or even a ghost from my own past, urging me to take a leap of faith. I began to research the restaurant, the posh venue, and even the digital payment system that had delivered the receipt. Every clue seemed to vanish like footprints in the sand, leaving behind only questions. At night, my dreams were invaded by images of dark corridors and flickering neon lights, visions that merged with my waking thoughts to create a tapestry of suspense and yearning. In a moment of restless inspiration, I decided to confront the mystery head-on. I returned to the Blue Dusk Lounge one crisp evening, not as a hopeful wanderer but as a determined seeker of truth. I sat at my usual table by the window, ordered the same rich red wine that had accompanied that first encounter, and waited. Hours passed, and the lounge began to thin out until only a few souls remained, each seemingly lost in their own private reveries. As I sat there, I noticed a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a murmur that grew louder, as if the very air was charged with anticipation. Then, at exactly midnight, the doors swung open, admitting a gust of cool air and a figure clad in a tailored coat. My heart skipped a beat as I recognized the elegant posture and the familiar glint of resolve in her eyes. It was Elise. This time, she approached me with a measured calm that belied the whirlwind of emotions we had both experienced before. Without preamble, she slid into the seat opposite me and placed a small envelope on the table. "I've been expecting you," she said softly, her voice carrying the weight of secrets long concealed. Inside the envelope lay a series of photographs, grainy, black and white images of a city that looked both familiar and foreign. They depicted scenes of midnight vigils, clandestine gatherings in deserted alleys, and smiling faces partially obscured by shadows. Elise's eyes softened as she explained that these were fragments of a past she had once shared with someone who had vanished without a trace, a lover lost to time and circumstance. "I received this receipt because it was meant to guide me back to these memories," she confessed. "And now, I need your help to piece together what happened." I listened intently as she recounted a tale of passion, betrayal, and unfulfilled promises, a story that spanned decades and blurred the lines between legend and reality. Each photograph was a clue, a piece of a puzzle that had haunted her for years. It seemed that the digital receipt was not a random occurrence but a deliberate invitation, one that would lead us deep into the heart of a mystery that intertwined our fates. We spent hours poring over the images, comparing them to old maps and newspaper clippings, searching for any sign of the missing figures and the hidden venues that might hold further answers. In the ensuing weeks, our collaboration became a fervent quest. Every evening, we met at different locales, the hidden corners of the city where history clung to crumbling facades and where the echoes of lost voices still resonated. Elise, with her keen eye for detail and a passion for the obscure, guided me through a labyrinth of forgotten stories. Together, we discovered that the receipt was linked to a secret network of individuals who had, at one time, been part of an underground society. This group, it turned out, had orchestrated a series of covert dinners and clandestine meetings as a means of preserving their art, their philosophy, and their unyielding belief in the transformative power of shared human experience. Every new revelation brought us closer to understanding not only the mystery of the receipt but also the parts of ourselves we had long kept hidden. I found my rigid, structured existence melting away as I immersed myself in the fluid, unpredictable world that Elise unveiled before me. There were moments when the truth felt almost too immense to bear, a tapestry woven with threads of joy, sorrow, and irrevocable loss. In one particularly memorable instance, we visited an abandoned theater rumored to have been the meeting place for the society's most impassioned gatherings. The decaying velvet seats, the stage draped in dust and memories, and the echo of silent applause filled me with a profound sense of melancholy and hope simultaneously. That night, as we sat amidst the ruins, Elise confided in me about her own journey, a path marked by heartbreak and the relentless search for meaning. "I used to believe that life was just a series of disconnected moments," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But now I see that every encounter, every fleeting connection, is part of a grand narrative, one that we are meant to write together." Her words resonated deeply, stirring emotions I had long suppressed beneath layers of practicality and fear. I realized then that our quest was not merely about solving a mystery, it was about reclaiming a part of ourselves that had been lost to the grind of everyday life. As our investigation deepened, so did our connection. There were nights filled with laughter and shared confessions, where the boundaries between past and present blurred into a comforting haze. Yet, amidst the camaraderie, a sense of urgency began to creep in. The more we uncovered, the more we realized that someone, or something, was determined to keep these secrets buried. Anonymous messages and subtle warnings started to appear, a shadowy figure watching from a distance, a car following us along deserted streets, a lingering scent of smoke and regret in an otherwise pristine room. The thrill of discovery was now tempered by a palpable tension, as if we were dancing on the edge of a precipice. One evening, while poring over a set of old blueprints in the attic of an ancient building, we stumbled upon a reference to a long-forgotten venue known simply as the Sanctuary. According to faded documents and whispered accounts, the Sanctuary had once been the epicenter of the society's gatherings, a place where art, philosophy, and passion converged in defiance of a world that had grown too cynical to appreciate beauty. The idea of visiting it filled us with both excitement and trepidation. Could this be the key to unraveling the mystery of the digital receipt and, perhaps, unlocking the secrets of our own lives? Determined to find answers, we set off under the cloak of night, navigating winding streets and forgotten alleyways until we arrived at a dilapidated building hidden behind a facade of ivy and neglect. The entrance was unmarked, the door slightly ajar as if inviting us to step into the unknown. With a deep breath, I pushed it open and found myself in a vast hall shrouded in darkness and dust. Faint shafts of moonlight filtered through broken windows, illuminating remnants of an era long past. In that haunting silence, every step echoed like a heartbeat, every creak of the floor a whisper of secrets once shared in passion and rebellion. Inside, amidst the relics of a grand past, we discovered a series of journals and handwritten letters that chronicled the society's rise and eventual dissolution. The words were raw and unfiltered, capturing the hopes and disillusionments of souls who had dared to dream beyond the confines of convention. Elise and I spent hours reading these accounts, each page deepening our understanding of the sacrifices made in the name of art and freedom. It became painfully clear that the sanctuary was not merely a physical location, it was a symbol of everything that we had lost in our pursuit of a life unburdened by the mundane. As dawn approached, casting a pale glow over the ruined hall, we made a silent promise to each other, that we would carry forward the legacy of those who had dared to live fully, even if it meant facing the darkness within ourselves. The digital receipt, which had once seemed like an anomaly, had become the catalyst for a journey of rediscovery, one that challenged us to confront our deepest fears and long-forgotten desires. I left the sanctuary that morning with a renewed sense of purpose, my heart heavy with the knowledge of what had come before and what was yet to be. In the weeks that followed, the investigation took on a life of its own. Elise and I became inseparable, bound by our shared mission and the unspoken understanding that we were part of something much larger than ourselves. The city, with its labyrinthine streets and hidden enclaves of beauty, transformed before my eyes into a living, breathing entity, one that whispered its secrets to those willing to listen. Every encounter, every serendipitous meeting, was now imbued with meaning. I began to see the interplay of light and shadow in a new way, recognizing that even in the darkest corners, there existed a glimmer of hope waiting to be ignited. Yet, as our bond deepened and our discoveries multiplied, so did the dangers that lurked in the periphery. One fateful night, while returning from a clandestine meeting with an old friend who had once been part of the society, I found myself surrounded by an ominous silence on a deserted stretch of road. The familiar hum of city life had faded into an eerie stillness, and my instincts screamed that I was being watched. A sleek black car appeared out of nowhere, its headlights slicing through the darkness like twin blades. The vehicle slowed, then stopped beside me. My pulse raced as I peered through the rain-spattered windshield, half expecting to see Elise's reassuring smile. Instead, I caught a glimpse of a stern face framed by the shadows, a face that radiated authority and silent warning. In that charged moment, I realized that our quest had drawn the attention of those who preferred the past to remain buried. The encounter was brief, a nod, a gesture, and then the car melted back into the night. But it was enough to shatter any illusion of safety. The stakes had risen, and with every step we took toward the truth, the line between revelation and danger grew ever thinner. That night, as I sat alone in my apartment listening to the distant echoes of the city's nocturnal symphony, I pondered the cost of our journey. The digital receipt, the catalyst of our transformation, had indeed opened doors to new worlds, but it had also unveiled hidden adversaries determined to silence the voices of rebellion. I wrestled with the duality of fate, how every answer seemed to invite more questions, and how every revelation was tempered by the shadow of loss. Despite the growing peril, I felt an unwavering determination to see this through. For in the depths of my soul, I had discovered a truth that transcended fear, that the pursuit of beauty, meaning, and connection was worth every risk, every moment of uncertainty. Elise's eyes continued to be my compass, guiding me through the labyrinth of secrets and lies. With her by my side, I felt emboldened to face the challenges that lay ahead. Together, we began to assemble a small circle of kindred spirits, individuals who, like us, had been touched by the elusive magic of that digital message. Our meetings, held in hidden cafes, abandoned warehouses, and moonlit parks, were filled with fervent discussions about art, philosophy, and the importance of preserving the legacy of a bygone era. Each meeting was a tapestry of shared experiences, where laughter mingled with tears, and where the collective hope for a better, more authentic life shone like a beacon in the dark. As autumn deepened and the city prepared to don a cloak of early frost, our little collective took on a new urgency. We discovered that the society's remnants had been systematically targeted over the years by forces intent on erasing their influence. Documents had been destroyed, memories had been silenced, and the vibrant spirit of rebellion was now but a faint echo. In our search, we uncovered hints of a final gathering, a secret conclave planned for a night when the boundaries between past and present would blur once again. The digital receipt, it seemed, was more than an invitation. it was a summons to reclaim what had been lost. The night of the conclave arrived with a biting chill that permeated every corner of the city. We gathered in an old manor on the outskirts, a place steeped in history and whispered legends. The manor's grand halls, though marred by time, exuded a dignified decay that spoke of countless stories etched into its walls. In a candlelit room, surrounded by relics of a once thriving movement, I felt a profound sense of unity and resolve. Elise, standing beside me, squeezed my hand, a silent affirmation that together we could face the remnants of the past and the uncertainties of the future. As the clock neared midnight, a hush fell over the assembled group. A figure emerged from the shadows, a voice both familiar and distant, laden with the gravitas of lost eras. It was as if the very soul of the society had returned to guide us through one final chapter. The speaker recounted the founding ideals of the clandestine gatherings, the passion for art and authenticity that had driven them to challenge the confines of an indifferent world. Each word resonated with the weight of history, stirring emotions that had long lain dormant. In that moment, I felt the full spectrum of life, its beauty, its sorrow, and its relentless drive toward renewal. The digital receipt, which had once been a mere confirmation of a gourmet dinner, had evolved into a symbol of hope and defiance. It had reawakened in me a hunger for truth and connection, reminding me that every unexpected encounter was a doorway to a richer, more vibrant existence. The conclave ended in a quiet, reflective communion, with each of us returning to our lives forever changed by the night's revelations. As I stepped out into the crisp early morning air, I realized that my journey was far from over. The mysteries we had unearthed were only the beginning, and the path ahead, though fraught with uncertainty, shimmered with promise. The digital receipt had set into motion a chain of events that defied the banal confines of routine, igniting in me a fervor to seek out beauty, meaning, and the unvarnished truth of our shared human experience. Even now, as I write these words, I feel the echoes of that transformative night pulsating through my veins. The city, with all its hidden corners and untold stories, continues to whisper its secrets to those who are willing to listen. And I, forever changed by the encounter with Elise and the labyrinth of mysteries that unfolded thereafter, am compelled to follow those whispers wherever they may lead, embracing each moment as a testament to the profound, unpredictable magic of life. The third night of revelations arrived like the whispered promise of a secret too long kept. With the early haze of autumn still clinging to the city, Elise and I prepared once again to venture into the unknown. The conclave at the old manor had left us both invigorated and wary. Each step forward in our quest was now shadowed by the weight of what we had unearthed. Yet, we pressed on, determined to see our journey to its natural end. In the days that followed the final gathering, our collective began receiving odd, almost poetic messages. They arrived at random hours, a short phrase, a date, or a location hinting at further meetings. It seemed that the digital receipt, once an isolated spark, had evolved into an intricate thread weaving through our shared destiny. I spent long nights poring over the remnants of the society's journals, rereading the heartfelt confessions and coded passages that spoke of love lost and dreams unfulfilled. Each page stirred a torrent of emotions, and I found my own heart mirrored in the stories of those long gone. One message in particular, written in a calligraphic hand that belied the digital age, commanded my attention: "Find the mirror of memories at the place where reflections reveal truths." The note struck me as both mystifying and personal, as if it were addressing the very core of my inner self. Elise and I agreed that this could be the final key, a clue to unlocking not only the society's mysteries but the larger truth about our lives and our shared yearning for authenticity. The location turned out to be an old, almost forgotten art gallery nestled in a quiet corner of the city. Its facade, overgrown with ivy and illuminated by a single, flickering street lamp, invited us like a relic of a bygone era. I remember the feeling as we stepped inside. The air was heavy with dust and nostalgia, and each artifact seemed imbued with a story waiting to be told. The gallery's main exhibit was a series of large, ornate mirrors that once belonged to a prestigious mansion, mirrors that were rumored to reveal more than just a reflection. According to legend, they were imbued with the memories of those who had gazed into them, offering glimpses of moments both beautiful and painful. I approached one mirror in particular, its frame intricately carved with symbols that resonated with the cryptic motifs from our earlier clues. Elise stood by my side, her eyes reflecting both apprehension and hope. As I peered into the glass, the familiar cityscape blurred and transformed. In the dim light, faces emerged, some smiling, others etched with sorrow. I saw fleeting images of myself at moments I had long forgotten, the exhilaration of a first love, the quiet agony of a broken promise, and the enduring strength that had carried me through silent nights of despair. The experience was disorienting and profoundly moving, a silent dialogue between my past and the person I was becoming. Beside me, Elise too was transfixed. In her reflection, I saw the tender glimmers of her hidden pain, the shadow of a loss that had shaped her, the resilience that had driven her quest for meaning. For a long, unspoken moment, we simply stood there, two souls confronting their inner truths in the flickering luminescence of memory. The mirror seemed to ask us not only to acknowledge our pasts but to embrace them as the foundation for our future. It was then that I realized the digital receipt was far more than an invitation. It was a summons to reconcile with every fragment of our beings, joy, regret, love, and pain alike. The encounter at the gallery deepened our resolve to complete the journey that had been set in motion so mysteriously long ago. Over the next few days, Elise and I retraced the steps of the Society's legacy, guided by clues left behind in dusty journals and faded photographs. We visited locations where the walls still whispered with the echoes of secret meetings, a deserted opera house with crumbling seats and a courtyard where the rustle of leaves recalled the rustle of elegant gowns and whispered confessions. At each site, we felt the palpable presence of those who had once believed in the transformative power of art and connection. Their voices, though muted by time, resonated with us as if they were urging us to continue their legacy. One evening, as twilight draped itself over the city, we gathered with our small circle one final time. In a secluded rooftop garden, surrounded by the soft hum of distant traffic and the cool caress of the night breeze, we shared what we had discovered. The conversation turned reflective, a meditation on the nature of fate, the impermanence of beauty, and the relentless pursuit of meaning in a world that often seemed indifferent. I spoke of my own journey, of the nights when the digital receipt had felt like a lifeline out of a mundane existence. Elise recounted the personal toll of holding on to memories, and others in the circle shared their own small rebellions against the erosion of passion in their everyday lives. As our words intertwined with the gentle cadence of the night, I realized that our mission was not to unearth every secret or solve every mystery. Rather, it was about embracing the journey itself, the exhilaration of discovery, the bittersweet joy of remembering, and the courage to step into the future, carrying with us every shard of our past. The digital receipt had been the spark that set all this in motion, but it was our own hearts that had kindled the flame of transformation. In that final gathering, as the moon climbed high and cast silvery beams over our assembly, we made a pact. We vowed to live as those who had once gathered in defiance of the ordinary, to treasure the memories that had shaped us and to seek beauty and truth even in the face of inevitable loss. For me, that night was a declaration of liberation. I no longer feared the passage of time or the fading of memories. Instead, I saw them as threads in the vast tapestry of life, each one essential to the pattern of my being. The digital receipt, which had first arrived as a mysterious confirmation of a gourmet dinner, had evolved into a symbol of renewal and hope. Its unexpected message had led me down paths I never knew existed, revealing hidden depths within myself and connecting me with kindred spirits who shared the same longing for authenticity. As I left the rooftop garden that night, the city seemed to glow with newfound meaning, a mosaic of light and shadow, past and present woven together into a singular, transcendent moment. Now, in the quiet solitude of my study, I reflect on that journey with a deep sense of gratitude. The receipt, the secret rendezvous, and every whispered clue along the way have become chapters in a story that continues to evolve with each passing day. I have learned that the true magic of life lies not in the certainty of answers, but in the beauty of the questions we dare to ask. And though our collective has since scattered to pursue our individual paths, the memory of those nights, the taste of a gourmet meal, the glimmer of candlelight in a hidden lounge, and the soulful reflections in a dusty mirror, remains etched in my heart as a timeless reminder that sometimes, the most extraordinary journeys begin with the simplest of messages, inviting us to step into a world where every moment is a chance to rediscover ourselves.